What's good, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, and I'm coming to you with another episode of Ask FP. So I appreciate everybody that reached out with a question. I tried to use as many as I can, as always. So let's jump into that first question. We got my man Firefly 2205, and he says, "What's wrong with the WWE Divas Division?" Thoughts? There's a lack of talent overall, man. I mean, to be just totally honest with you, you got Naomi, who's above average in the ring. I think Tamina's above average. I think Natalya is above average. Those are the only ones that are above average. None of them are above average on the mic. The only one who was above average on the mic was AJ, and she's obviously no longer there. So overall, the biggest issue is a lack of talent. So there's only one way to fix that: get an get an injection of more talent, more or less. So Firefly 2205 also says, if you were the COO of WWE, what changes would you make overall? I don't know if this is a change or a reaffirmation, but I think sticking with the PG era is something that I would do. I would probably, just make sure you peel back some of the just useless stuff that they do just to try to like robotically maintain an edge. You've moved away from the Attitude Era and all of that. There's no reason to just drop a few B words or whatever here and there just so you can say, hey, look, we still do kind of curse. I think that, back in the day when storylines were really, really dope, the in-ring product wasn't that great, but the in-ring product now is way better than it was. Storylines back in the day didn't have all that, but they were still more compelling than the ones that you get now. So, Firefly 2205 again says, is Zeke, that's Isaiah Thomas, better than AI, not including the rings? This is going to be a really odd answer because I never liked Isaiah Thomas, and I always liked Allen Iverson. But being totally honest, Isaiah Thomas was a better player than Allen Iverson. People might look at statistics and say, oh, well, Iverson scored this much, that much. Isaiah Thomas could have scored that much easily, and he would have been more efficient than than Allen Iverson was. Isaiah was a point guard, which is what AI should have been, but he didn't want to tweak his game to play that way. And in my opinion, Isaiah was just a better player. Nightwing says, are you going to put every rookie on their NBA team when the NBA draft is over? He's talking about NBA 2K15, and I'm doing something like that, but I'm not going to make a roster that basically, like, hey, here's a new updated NBA 2K16 roster or what 2K15 roster. I'm not going to do that because essentially what that would require me to do is to remake all of the guys that I'm making now and, make it as a roster. I may do that moving forward, like for next year's, because I always make my draft class for the end of the year. So I'll probably do that moving forward, but I'm not going to do it this time, y'all. I'm sorry. Devin Martinez says, who are your favorite YouTubers? It's a few guys I like. I like QJB. I really like Shakedown. Shakedown's work is good. I know it's things like thumbnails. Thumbnail wise, dude is really, really dope. There's a dude who only does MMA stuff. His channel is called the MMA Game. He's really, really, really dope. You want to talk about having a niche and sticking with it and riding it. The only problem I would wonder about with his channel is because they're not making MMA games a lot, but he has really done well with what he's doing. I also like Backyard Gaming, It's My Yard, for WWE stuff. His information is impeccable. If you can get past the accent and stuff like that, there's nobody, in my opinion, that does WWE videos better than him. So that's that. Devin Martinez says, do you think that the Twins should call up Miguel Sano, or and if so, when? I really don't know, man, because obviously Sano's a big time power prospect. He's like 6'4", 260, but he's really, I missed all of baseball in 2014, but he's not really started to really hit the ball great yet. He's got like 13 home runs. He's hitting like 240. He's pretty much a DH, and the Twins aren't getting anything from DH with Kenneth Vargas, so you might, he only hits left-handed pitching, doesn't hit right-handed pitching well at all. So he's not going to play third base because he's not going to like move Trevor Plouffe off. So I don't know if it's time quite yet, because the Twins are right there, you know, in the division. So I don't think it's time quite yet. Maybe September. Devin Martinez says, when do you think we will see Reigns, Ambrose, and Rollins in a triple threat match? So essentially, when will we see the Shield? And you know it's going to be a main event. I think SummerSlam possibly. I think SummerSlam is a possibility to see that match. It's going to obviously have to start to, you know, kick up sometime soon, but I think we're already seeing some things that could lead you to believe that that could be, you know, on the horizon. So I don't know. I think it could definitely happen. So we'll see what happens with that, but it's possible. It's possible for sure. Chamberlain says, what do you think the Suns need to do to become relevant again? The Suns need a star. That's what they need. They need to find a star. They need to find a guy who is the leader of their team. Because if you said, who's the leader of the Phoenix Suns team? I mean, it takes a second, but you probably say Eric Bledsoe, and he is a stat sheet stuffing kind of a guy, but is he really? I mean, I think he's almost like a guy without a position as well, and I just don't think that a team with Eric Bledsoe as your best player is going to ever be a championship level team. So, you know, that's just my take on Phoenix. Simon Torvey Summon says, do you agree with the Rooney Rule? The Rooney Rule, last time we talked about race on Ask FP, y'all got to remember, I'm answering the questions. Y'all didn't like the fact that the name of the video was something that had to do with race. Y'all need to really chill. Every time we talk about race, don't mean that somebody's saying, hey, here's what people are doing wrong to black people again. It's not that. Answering questions, you can't be afraid to discuss things. The Rooney Rule, for people who don't know, is a rule that says the NFL teams have to interview one minority candidate. You don't have to hire them, but they have to interview them. I'm really torn on this rule, because I really do think that sometimes it's just done just to follow the rule, and the guys who are getting interviewed don't really have a real shot because this team has it in their mind who they want to hire. And I think if you have a business, you should be able to hire whoever you want to hire. It's just that simple. But at the same token, I do think that you can't ignore the fact that there's a lot less, you know, African Americans and minorities getting head coaching jobs, despite the fact that there's a huge amount of African Americans in the league. So it does seem to be a balance there, an imbalance there. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it, to be quite honest. Vaughn Resper Jr. says, do you think that Keyshawn Johnson will make it into the Hall of Fame? I do not. Keyshawn had a good career, but that question that always comes up when you talk about Hall of Fame, is there a hesitation? When you say, is this person a Hall of Famer? If there's a hesitation, then they're not. And I think there's more than a hesitation if you ask that question about Keyshawn Johnson. Golden State Fan 30 says, people are frustrated with 2K this year, and NBA Live 16 is getting love. Do you think that Live will outdo 2K this year? From what I've seen from Live, I do think it's clear the strides have been made. But I think it's strides that have been made based off of what 2K was last year. And I still wouldn't say that what I've seen from Live 16 has me prepared to say that Live 16 is better than 2K15. Now, that said, there's apparently some new things that are coming from an animation standpoint on 2K, which could then again open the gap back up. So I think we have to see something from 2K this year before we know. Obviously, we have to think about the servers and all of that. But to be totally honest, 2K, although it's very server dependent, there's so much more to the game than just servers. My League, My GM, those are really big parts of the game, in my opinion, that really weren't very much affected by the servers. Or they were somewhat, but not too much. So, I don't know. We have to see. Golden State Fan 30 again says, what NBA teams do you think will make a big splash in free agency this summer? I'm saying the Mavs or the Lakers. I think the Lakers are definitely going to be very active trying to do something. They want to make the most out of Kobe's last years, but I think the Spurs may ultimately make the biggest splash by signing LaMarcus Aldridge. So I think it's a good chance he goes there. Golden State Fan 30 again says, who do you think is the most underrated prospect this year in the NBA draft? Kristaps Porzingis jumped up the board. He's jumped up the board, but recently now, these last few hours, as the draft is quickly approaching, you're starting to hear teams get a little bit gun shy on maybe taking him in the top 5, which was the discussion leading up to this week. Here's the thing: the teams haven't seen very much of Kristaps Porzingis up to this point. They haven't seen a lot of him, so they're gambling pretty much. And then we all know there's been a good number of busts from international busts, and people are really worried of that sort of thing. He's not very proven. He is athletic, but everyone's scared to get the next Darko or Nicolo Skeetishvili. So I do think he's going to be a top 6 pick. I'm just not sure if he goes up to 3. I just have a hard time imagining the 76ers taking him over D'Angelo Russell. I mean, I think that would be just boneheaded. Simon Torvey Sunderland says, if you could become commissioner of any major U.S. sports league, which would you choose and what changes would be made? You know what? I'm going to answer this just off base altogether. I wouldn't become a commissioner of a current U.S. sports league. I would create a professional boxing league that had structure and mandated titles, and not the same type of crazy stuff that you see going on in boxing right now that actually kind of turns a lot of people off. There's some good things about the UFC, even though I always prefer boxing over MMA. But there's some good things about the way UFC is structured, which is the reason why their champions are, I think, a little bit more respected. And I think boxing could learn from that if, the corruption aspect of it could ever get out of the way. Simon Torvey Sunderland says, what is your favorite ever sports movie / documentary? I'm a big documentary guy, and I love the 30 for 30s. So from a personal and a local standpoint, being a Chicago guy, the Ben Wilson 30 for 30 was like so awesome. There were people on it that I knew personally. All of the stuff that that was happening in the area, like he lives 2 blocks down the street from where I grew up. It was just everything. It hit home. And here's a funny, really quick story. I'm going to answer this next question by Simon. 2 days after I saw the 30 for 30 documentary, I went to a party, and the dude that shot Ben Wilson came in the party. It was mind-blowing. It was so crazy. I was like, oh my God. Simon Torvey Sunderland says, did you ever have a childhood hero, sports related? I really didn't. There were guys that I liked Mike, Bo Jackson, those kind of guys, but I wouldn't put that H word on them. My brother was my hero. As far as human beings, Jesus Christ is my biggest hero, but my brother was my hero in terms of on earth. That I didn't think of any athlete as being my hero. They were always people on TV, but I related more to the people who I could see, touch, and talk to. So that's that. Devin Martinez says, do you think that Trevor Plouffe could be an all-star this year? I don't, because he's only hitting first and foremost, does he play for the Royals? Because if you're not a Royal and you're in the American League, you're probably not going to the All-Star game, even though I know Cabrera and Trout have moved in there. But even on an up and up, Trevor Plouffe's hitting 245, 9 home runs or something like that. He's not having an all-star season, and he's not going to get the vote, so I don't see any way that can happen. So there's that. Golden State fan is back. He says, what do you think of 2K bringing back D-League teams in My GM where you can call players up and down? Just an idea. I think that's cool, for the My GM, for the My League thing. I think it could work out pretty cool. I don't know. I think it could be cool. I think it would be a pretty nice addition. I think one of the biggest things they need to get a hold of is the whole trade system. Maybe getting an opportunity where you can do protected picks and that kind of thing. But most of all, you need to have it where you can carry over saves, especially for your My League, especially for your My GM and your My Career. Carrying over saves is an absolute necessity right now. If 2K wants to lock things down and shut people out, you already got a humongous lead over live. Start making it where people don't have to recreate their My Player every year, and now if they're going to switch to live, they have to give up all of that history. Then you lock it down. Anthony Valorio says, did you watch the Kimbo Slice Ken Shamrock fight? If so, your thoughts? I thought it was pretty pitiful, but it was still somewhat entertaining. I mean, Shamrock's 51, Kimbo's 40, 41 or whatever. I give Kimbo props for knowing to turn into the choke to take away some of the pressure, but also I realized Ken Shamrock's 51-year-old arms weren't strong enough to hold the choke long enough to execute it or to finish it. And once he did that, he was done. You know, the strength it takes to try to choke a guy out is just a lot of strength. Once he didn't get it, once he got to his feet, he was popped. So it was that. Valorio also says, what do you think the Knicks will do with their pick? Phil Jackson said he's open to trade. I hope they take Mujier as a New York Knicks fan. I think taking Mujier is something that does absolutely make some sense. I think they need to make a splash. They need another impact player to team with Carmelo, and preferably a point guard who can control the ball. And if they are able to get that, I think that's a big deal for sure. But we'll see what happens. But I also wouldn't think they were crazy to trade it. Gerard Durheim he says, so far, who do you think wins the AL/NL MVP, AL/NL Cy Young, AL/NL Rookie of the Year? God bless you, man. Same to you as well. So I made a few little notes. American League, Cy Young would be Glenn Perkins. I think he has been awesome and a huge reason why the Twins are where they are in the standings. He's a closer. AL MVP, I'd have to give it to Miguel Cabrera, even though it's really tight. Nobody really separating themselves, but he is leading the American League in two of the Triple Crown categories. So an AL Rookie of the Year is also really, really tight, but I'd have to go with Billy Burns for them Oakland A's because he's hitting for a great average, and he also has like 15 stolen bases. In the National League, the Cy Young is easy. It's Max Scherzer. I mean, he's a no-hitter following up one hitter. He's been nasty. Leading the league in ERA. He's been nasty. National League MVP is Bryce Harper. Washington got two guys in my opinion, will get to both of the top awards or whatever. And the National League Rookie of the Year, Chris Bryant. It's a little close with Jock Peterson, but I would still give the edge to Chris Bryant. Gerard also says, what is your predicted what is your record predicted for my Vikings this upcoming football season? I say 10-5. If healthy, 8-8. If not, I think 8-8 regardless. I think the NFC North is going to be a fairly tough division. I think the Bears are improved. I think the Lions are still going to be good, and the Packers are the Packers. So I think 8-8 for the Vikings. I still think they're the fourth place team. Sorry, dude. Gerard Durheim also says, how well you think the Texas Longhorns would do? Hook 'em horns. I think that Texas is on the way up with Strong as the head coach, but it takes a while to turn things around in college football because you got to get the recruiting classes. They have to mature. So it doesn't happen after one season. They were 6-7 last year. They still have a quarterback issue where they don't, they've been looking for a legitimate quarterback since Vince Young left. And I don't think it happens this year, but I do think that with Strong as the head coach and him starting to put his hands on some recruiting classes, I think in the next 3 to 4 years, I think you might see a return of the Longhorns. Equality says, might be crazy, but do you think that Floyd should make his own boxing game? There's literally zero competition and he could fund it. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. The way, as far as a boxer, I'm a Floyd fan as far as a boxer. But I don't think I would want Floyd to be in charge of a game, because he would probably want it to make it where it was impossible to beat him in the game. And because Floyd's not a gamer. That's the thing about it. You don't want somebody who's not a gamer having creative control over a game, because they're not going to have a gamer's best interest in it. It's all about a public thing for them, and I don't think that's a good fit with Floyd. I just don't. So yeah. Golden State Fan 30, he's back for the last question, says, with the second pick in the 2015 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Jahlil Okafor. Now, I know we're hearing some rumors about the Lakers possibly chasing DeMarcus Cousins, which would obviously make some sense. You would be getting that proven big man to continue the Laker big man tradition. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Kings hold on to DeMarcus Cousins, especially not wanting to trade him in the division like that. But I think the Kings hold on to DeMarcus Cousins, and the Lakers go ahead and take Okafor and build around a front court of Okafor and Julius Randle and whatever Kobe has left. I do appreciate you guys watching, listening, or whatever you're doing. God bless. Peace.